Okay, I now call to order the Town of Arundecoit Workshop Meeting for Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. This meeting is being conducted in accordance and in compliance with the Governor's Executive Order issued last month with regards to modified public meetings. So we are doing this while satisfying the criteria laid out in that executive order. This meeting is being broadcast live on both our cable 1301 as well as our Facebook Live channel. Madam, I'm going to ask, even though you might not have a flag where you are, it's not necessary. So just please join me in rising to recite the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Roll call.
Yes. Thank you.
Roll call.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear? Councilwoman Freeman,
Present.
Councilman Perticone,
Here.
Councilwoman Romeo,
Here.
Councilman Weiner,
Here.
Supervisor Sealy,
Here.
Attorney for the town.
Here.
Thanks. And we're also
Thank you.
joined. Well, thank you, Madam Clerk. We're also joined by Megan Doherty from Heart of Seacrest as well. Just a few things. We can go at a pace that satisfies making sure we're conducting the normal work of a workshop. Obviously, this is where we're asking a lot more background reference questions of the department heads for the various resolutions that they have for regular town board. We do have 3 items for board action at this workshop, all relating to projects under the state's READY program involving seeker. They're timely in this nature, so I'm recommending them for board action at this workshop meeting. Generally at our workshop meeting, we recognize a member of our staff with the staff spotlight, but given the inability to not do that in person and normally getting to surprise them, we thought we would instead just recognize all of our staff who have been working hard over the past really month to respond to the COVID outbreak. In particular, our police, our highway department, our clerk, our finance department, human resources, building department, a lot of the people on this Zoom meeting, but also a lot of our staff as well. Additionally, there's some staff who really, because they're essential, whether it's the time of year or the nature of their work, have had to continue to work. So we do appreciate that. I know our police have been asked to work under some not necessarily 100% safe conditions, and we continue to thank them, and Acting Chief Laird has done a nice job shepherding us through that. So just wanted to recognize all of our staff really, but particularly those who have been working hard over the past month to make sure town government continues on a scaled back basis, but we also continue to meet the needs of the community. With that, we'll move on to review of this month's agenda items. I am going to, in lieu of Comptroller Marsh, walk you through the monthly financial report. I will not do it as well as she normally does it, but she also has submitted her results for the town. It should be in your packet, but I will just read through them very quickly. Financial results for March 31st. Total expenses include actual as well as encumbered are 10.2 million, which is 27.6% of budget, which is higher than the 25% of the year that has elapsed. The breakdown, actual expenses is 6.9 million, encumbered expenses 3.3 million. As Comptroller Marsh would note and generally does earlier in the year, encumbrances are typically high in the first quarter as departments establish and commit to commodity services, supplies that will be needed during the year. General fund expenses are above budget at 26.6% or 5.9 million. That includes 4.4 million of actual expenditures, 1.5 million in encumbrances. In the aggregate, the expenses in the highway funds are 1.8 million or 32.6% of budget. That is above the 25% of the year that's elapsed. Encumbrances count for 779,000 or 14.3% of that number and include fuel, salt, equipment, parts. Expenditures in the library are under budget at 406,000 or 15%. The sewer fund expenses are 28.8% of budget, equating to $1.2 million. Stormwater drainage total is 578,000 or 46% of budget. Those actual expenditures are 97,000, while encumbrances account for 38.3% of that 46.1% of total budget. Also included in the encumbered amount is a Vector truck costing approximately $386,000, which is why that stormwater drainage number is higher at this point of the year. That is offset by a grant that was awarded to the town in the amount of $281,500. General fund revenue received is 11.8 million or 54.4% of budget. At the end of March, the town had received 11.2 million of real estate tax, which is 100% of budget, as that is guaranteed by the county. We've received 60% of pilot payments. That's 155,000. Regarding the entire town, we have $23.6 million of revenue received, which is 65.3% of budgeted revenue. And that includes appropriated fund balance dedicated as revenue as well. Additionally, 17.5 million of the amount received in real estate tax and special district assessments. At the end of the month, the library had received $2.5 million in revenue, or 94% of its budgeted revenue. The bulk of their revenue comes from general fund tax levy. 76.2% or 4.1 million is in for highway. Sewer has 4 million, which is 97.7% of that fund's budget. Stormwater drainage is almost 100% has been received at 837,000. And as we do 4 times a year, page 3 of this report represents the first quarter summary in comparison to the prior 6 years. I'll note that 2017 is generally regarded as an anomaly, given it was the aftermath of the fire and the quirky budget numbers that resulted. Regarding expenditures by fund, which are included at the top third of the page, the percent of the total current budget spent and encumbered is 27.6%, and is on par with first quarters of previous years, actually trending somewhat lower. And I'll just note, we're going to continue to track, if not on a month-by-month basis, but more regularly, the progression of our expenditures and revenue, just because we're dealing with COVID. The middle third of the page contains sources of revenue for the general fund. The bottom third of the page allows for revenue comparisons of the other funds, with the last line reflecting the collective revenue and fund balance for the town. The general fund revenue of 54.4% is slightly lower than prior years. Right now, that's attributed to reduced recreation fees resulting from COVID. We're going to see that revenue continue to trend lower as we go through the year. The biggest probably drop you'll see is our next disbursement of sales tax, which is regarded to be much lower for the remainder of the year. The overall town revenue and fund balance is 65.3%, is slightly lower than in the previous year. This concludes the month financial report for the month of March 2020. Any questions? And if you're just a reminder, if you haven't muted your phone, if you haven't muted your line and are talking, feel free to do so if you're not expecting to talk. And when you do have something to say, you can unmute your line. So we'll move on then to approval of minutes, which are in your packets. I'll ask that board members review and look through those. If you have any revisions, please forward them to Clerk Janier. And with that, we can move on to our items for board action. First up, we have a public hearing scheduled on the matter of the rezoning of 2732 Culver Road, which is the area of St. Cecilia Church, from R2 to residential R5. At last month's workshop meeting, we did meet with the proposed developers, representing both the owners of the property and the developers being Episcopal Senior Living. At this point, what I will say is we will open the public hearing, and given there is no public attending, we will keep the public hearing open until the following month at the very least. And then If scenarios are different in May, we will conduct a public hearing, but we are looking at ways to conduct modified public hearings. And are generally allowed to do so under the executive orders as long as the public does have a way to record testimony on a hearing, whether it's through video conferencing, teleconferencing. So I know we're working with Carrie on some planning zoning board scenarios, and hopefully the same method of public hearings will apply to the town board. So that will be opened and then kept open with no public. And I won't even ask Carrie for an explanation. We'll get to that next month. Okay, Carrie? Okay. All right. First up, under appointments, we have, I'll just ask Amy Yorstad to explain the appointment under Board of Assessors review. Amy?
Hi, so, yes, we need to appoint some new, Board of Assessment Review members due to, some terms that expired and conflicts of interest that were present with, some people that were related to me who were on the board. So my parents, they need to be replaced. So this is that first appointment. Renee's highly qualified. She is an appraiser. She lives in Arundecoit, and I'm looking forward to having her on the board. She's willing and able. And so I hope you'll appoint her.
And Renee's resume is in there. And I will note, these are paid positions. Some of our board appointments are not, but in this case, there is a slight stipend for a Board of Assessors review. So any questions on that?
It's just a seasonal.
Gotcha. All right. And then Amy, we can move on to your second item for board action under assessor.
Okay, yes, we have another settlement with HG Development in Maryland, better known as Home Depot. There was a previous settlement on this property that was kind of, when we went through the reval, the assessment was changed rather than holding the assessment. So they were able to refile another certiorari, which they did. We were able to negotiate another settlement with them, which is slightly improved from the original settlement. So that's what this reflects. And this will take care of the two certioraries that are currently in place for 18 and 19, and it has a 3-year hold on it. I included how much the refunds will be for 18 and 19. They're relatively modest, so.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, this is one of our higher assessed properties in town, I know, and the delta between their what we had them at and what the settlement is, I don't want to say nominal because it's not, but it's a pretty close to the assessed value that we had, correct?
Yeah, it is.
Any questions on that? Okay, thank you very much, Amy. We now move on to comptroller, as these come through comptroller, but they're done more through the supervisor's office as well. The first resolution that you have is the scheduling of a public hearing pertaining to amending the citizen participation plan for our community development block grant program. That's the sole because it's more just to cover ourselves, but obviously when we do our CDBG every year, there's federal requirements. We're required to have a citizen participation plan. One of the citizen participation plan elements we have that a lot of other towns don't is an ad hoc review board made up of citizens. Generally, they would meet in late March, early April. We decided not to hold that this year. So this year, what we're doing is notwithstanding that general citizen participation, removing that extraordinary step we take. So generally how it works is from that meeting, we make recommendations to the citizen advisory panel and they provide comments. At this point, we're going to remove that portion this year. We still will have a public hearing on the proposed 2020, 2021 action plan, but it just will not have that level of our participation plan. So at the suggestion of Labella, we're going to amend our participation plan to make that ad hoc committee optional. It's not mandatory or required. So we still plan to have it in subsequent years. but just not this year, given the COVID outbreak. Any questions on that? And the second one is the scheduling of our annual public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Program. We will schedule that for next month. At our workshop meeting in, I believe in May, we will brief board members on recommendations for the 2020-2021 action plan, which will be subject to the public hearing. And it's our expectation that we will adopt the 2020 grant program in subsequent. Any questions on that? And I will just note that I think I've shared this with all of you, but we did receive about $550,000 in supplemental CDBG money through the Federal CARES Act, which is very good news. Obviously, that is not unrestricted money. It's not generally for operating capital, but we will hope to allocate it for good use to serve a need, and I'll have an updated recommendation for use of that in the coming months. It does not have to be adopted in alignment or at the same time as our 2020 plan. What we'll probably do is amend our 2020 CDBG action plan. Okay, moving on, we can go to courts. Mr. Marion.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. For those watching who don't know, my name is David Marion. I'm the administrator of the town courts. I have 3 resolutions for consideration by the board this afternoon. The first seeks authorization to send 2 of our judges to the annual New York State Magistrates Conference. It seeks $2,300 previously budgeted to send them beginning in September, the second week of September, for a 3-day conference with all the other judges in the state.
Thank you, David. Any questions on that? And just reverting back to the previous resolution, the recommended supervisor's recommendation for the CDBG action plan is actually in there. So that'll be the basis of public comment that we receive for the hearing in May. So that the plan is in there. We will review it in full at our workshop meeting in May. With that, we can move on. Oh, Dave, you have 2 other resolutions. I'm sorry. Carry on, my friend.
No problem. My second resolution is, if this is my perennial resolution, seeking authorization from the board to apply for the JCAP grant through the Unified Court System. We have had some success in previous years. Getting money to improve courtroom equipment and facilities with this grant, but I need permission in order to apply. That application will be going to the state in October.
Any plans for what you're looking to do this year, Dave?
Well, obviously, I counsel with you and the judges on this. The 3 things I have written down are improvements to the court lobby, accessibility improvements to the court for handicap accessibility, ramps, and automatic doors, and interior cameras and improvement to the security system within the building. That's usually something I begin work on in the spring throughout the summer and as we prepare for the application in the fall.
Any questions for Mr. Marion? And your third resolution?
My final resolution is an approval, seeking approval from the town board to accept my JCAP grant award from last year, which totals $10,243 for the installation of traffic control bollards in front of the glass doors entering the court, and also improvements and a report on the cracked sidewalk apron before the building.
Very good. And we've received JCAP funding in 18, 20, 21?
Yeah, we've actually only missed 1 year. Yeah, our big one obviously was the funds we received in order to improve the interior of the courtroom. We've also received grants for furniture, computers, and now for improvements to the outside of the facility.
Any questions on the resolution? Okay. Thank you, David. We can now move on to police. Acting Chief Laird.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Asking permission from the board to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the Irondequoit Police Department and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF. It's intended to formalize a partnership between these 2 agencies in regards to gun trace evidence and investigations. It'll help supplement the analysis of crime involving guns, And what was normally done in a paper system, mailing back and forth, is now being done over a internet access and entering into the MOU with the board's permission. Thank you.
Any questions on the resolution? Okay, thank you. Acting Chief Laird. We'll now move on to Public Works. Robert?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The department has 4 resolutions for this month's board meeting. The first is the acceptance of 50 white pine saplings from Bartlett Tree Experts with an estimated value of $200. These 50 white pine saplings come to us via Councilwoman Romeo and the Bartlett Tree Experts folks. We anticipate planting these at the Department of Public Works, the new facility at 2629 East Ridge Road.
Where would they go on the campus of the facility, Bob?
These would be planted out on the berm to assist with screening. So this would be to the far south of the complex.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman Romeo. Call this the Romeo Act of 2020. Any questions on this? This is good, and I know we've had some community input on the burn, and hopefully this is us being responsive to that community input. I hope it works. All right, next resolution.
A second resolution would authorize the lease of a mail machine to be used by the DPW at 2629 East Ridge Road. The department went out and obtained 3 quotes. The lowest responsible bidder is Lineage. This would be a term lease for 63 months with a $80.90 charge monthly.
Any questions? Okay, moving on, Bob.
The next 2 resolutions are SEQR, State Environmental Quality Review Act resolutions. The first is for the SEQR determination with regard to the Seabreeze wastewater pump station improvements. So the READY program, Lake Ontario Resilience and Economic Development Initiative, the town received multiple awards for multiple different projects. The first 2 that I'd like to discuss now are both regarding improvements to 2 different pump stations. These 2 pump stations, the first Seabreeze, the second would be Point Pleasant. This is a type 2 action, as we will be moving forward, replacing existing infrastructure within the pump station itself. The board has received the type 2 action letter from Labella Associates, who conducted the review. A type 2 action for the board is exempt under the State Environmental Quality Review. Thus, there is no adverse impact to the environment. And as such, this resolution would state that there is no adverse impact to the environment with regard to the improvements to the Seabreeze wastewater pump station.
And where is that pump station located, Bob?
This pump station is located south of Culver Road in the middle of the Seabreeze amusement park parking lot. This is a pump station that takes waste from the residents along Culver Road, north side, just north of the Irondequoit Bay State Marine Park.
And was this a county project that, no, this was not a county project. It was the stormwater project on Culver, correct?
Correct. We'll talk about this is a town asset, so it's a town wastewater pump station. So the town owns and maintains this. There is another project in that vicinity at the Irondequoit Bay State Marine Park that is combined with Culver Road Storm Sewer Project, which I can speak to later. We actually have that for board action tonight,
Gotcha.
this workshop. But that is a county asset, and I can explain that further at that time.
Okay, very good. Any questions on the first SEQR resolution? All right, under the second.
The second resolution, similar to the resolution that I just described, This is the State Environmental Quality Review Act resolution regarding the improvements to Point Pleasant wastewater pump station. The Point Pleasant or German Village pump station takes sanitary waste from Bayfront North, Bayfront South, Schnackle Cove, the homes in that general vicinity, and also the condominiums that are right there at the end of Point Pleasant. So the purpose of this project, again awarded through the READY Commission, would be to increase the size of the pumps within that pump station, giving additional capacity. And as such, the replacement of existing infrastructure is a type 2 action pursuant to seeker. And as such, there is no adverse impact with regard to the environment for this project. The board should have Labella Associates memorandum stating as such.
Any questions on seeker? Okay, with that, we can now move on to recreation. Trina?
Sure. So my first resolution is to extend our contract at McAvoy Park for non-alcoholic beverages. We went out to bid and Wright Beverage won the bid 2 years ago. And so this is our opportunity to extend that contract for two additional, 1-year terms. So that contract was in the packet for you.
Gotcha. Any questions for Katrina? And the second?
Okay, and my second one is to enter into various contracts for gazebo entertainment at our farmers market and our Sunday concert series. If we move forward with entertainment, those contracts and those entertainers and compensations are all listed in your packet as well.
Any questions for Director Hall? All right. That concludes review of items for board action for next Tuesday board meeting. What I will say before we move on to items for board action for the workshop is my plan is to have the meeting conducted in the Broderick room with 5 board members and Barb, and our department heads will be participating remotely to explain resolutions. We will take public input like we did last month via email or written submission. As you can see, we tried to, it's a pared down agenda, but we didn't want to, we only did things that really were kind of absolutely necessary or timely or just needed something executed a contract. So we will be in the Broderick room. We will be appropriately socially distanced. 3 of us on the dais, 3 of us in front of the dais, not anywhere near each other. And that's how I plan on conducting the regular town board meeting next week. With that, we can move on to items for board action. Madam Clerk.
Okay. Item number 1, resolution declaring the intent of the town board of the town of Arundequoit to be lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act regarding the Arundequoit Bay State Marine Park and Culver Road Storm Sewers Project.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Commissioner, would you explain, please?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This resolution declares the town board's intent to be lead agency for the seeker process, which will be the environmental review of the project at the Arundequoit Bay State Marine Park and the Culver Road Storm Sewer projects. Both of these projects are funded through the Lake Ontario Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative, READY. So the project at the boat launch and project at Culver Road are concurrent. While they are 2 different projects, they are occurring at the same location. However, they have 2 different intents and they are owned by 2 different entities. So the owner of the Culver Road Storm Sewer project was originally the County of Monroe, being that the Culver Road Storm Sewer is a county asset. However, as the town Arundequoit Bay State Marine Park, the town manages that in a cooperative agreement with the state of New York State Parks. The fix or the solution for the flooding that occurs both down in the Bill Gray's parking lot, Don's Original, and then on Culver Road itself, can be solved rather easily in my mind and the mind of the engineers at the Irondequoit Bay State Marine Park. And as such, this project was included in the Irondequoit Bay State Marine Park project. So this seeker determination, while both are two separate projects, MO1 and MO4, respectively, for the boat launch and Culver Road, for seeker purposes, these are very much tied. This resolution declares the intent of the town to take lead as lead agency for seeker. This is a type 1 action because there is a disturbance of more than 10 acres on this site. And as such, we will be moving through a long EAF. So this will not be a short EAF form. This will be a long form. Further, we're going to do this in a coordinated manner with state parks, county DOT, state DOT, state DEC, and several other interested agencies, county planning, etc. So this resolution needed to be passed tonight at the workshop as opposed to the standard board meeting because pursuant to the seeker regulations, other agencies need 30 days notice if they would like to be lead agency. So they need 30 days notice. And as such, we're providing that 30 days notice prior to the review of the actual findings, which would be in the May timeframe. There are simply not 30 days between the April standard board meeting and the May standard board meeting. And as such, we are here at this workshop. So I can take any questions from anyone.
Thanks, Bob. And one of the reasons, we want to keep on a tight time frame is it looks like, and I'll knock on wood, but it looks like with the water levels as they are, we might actually be able to get these done this year. Actually, it's probably a high degree of certainty, correct, Bob?
Yeah, the intent behind these projects, this project specifically, the Irondequoit Bay State Marine Park and Culver Road Storm project, the intent is to complete this project this year. This is an aggressive schedule for this project. However, that is the stance that we're taking to ensure that, one, that boat launch can be used during high water events for fire EMS access via that boat launch. Two, this again solves localized flooding, both in some stormwater management facilities down in the Seabreeze neighborhood, in addition to roadway flooding issues. So it's our intent to move through this process fast and efficiently to get out to bid by June, July timeframe, award, and begin work construction immediately.
Thanks. Any further questions?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 2, resolution declaring the intent of the town board of the town of Arundequoit to be lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act regarding the Bay Shore Sewer District Extension Ready project.
Motion,
Moved.
in a second.
Second.
Thank you. Bob, explanation on this project?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Again, this is another Lake Ontario Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative project located on Bay Shore Boulevard. This project would see a sanitary sewer extended from the current sanitary sewer services further south at the 90 by the Bay Village condominiums north on Bay Shore Boulevard, allowing those homes which are currently on septic to connect into a low pressure sewer system to be constructed at this time in 2021. This low pressure sewer, this project was funded because this low pressure sewer would eliminate these 30 or so homes, all who have failing septic systems during flood conditions, those septic systems leaching into Irondequoit Bay, of course. Environmentally, that is not an advantageous situation, and as such, this was chosen to be funded through the READY Commission. Again, this resolution declares the town board's intent to be lead agency through this seeker process. So the EAF short form has been filled out by Labella Associates. This is an unlisted action pursuant to seeker. And as such, we declare our intent to be lead agency, give notification to other interested agencies, specifically Environmental Facilities Corp., who is the funding agency, New York State DEC, which will be the oversight and admin agency, and several others, county planning, et cetera, with regard to this project. So again, the necessity for this resolution and then the next resolution that we will talk about, again, simply not enough physical days between the standard board meeting and the May board meeting to make sure that we are consistent in moving through these secret processes concurrent with the regulations.
Very good. Any questions on this resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Peter, raise your hand.
Aye.
There you go. All right, thanks. Resolution is adopted.
Item number 3, resolution declaring the intent of the town board of the town of Arundequite to be lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act regarding the Bay Village wastewater pump station replacement ready project.
Motion.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Bob, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This is the last resolution. This resolution again declares the town board's intent to be lead agency for seeker purposes with regard to the Arundequite, the READY project, Lake Ontario Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative project, to rebuild the Bay Village pump station. Bay Village pump station is located just south of the Bay Village condominiums, servicing that condo complex, in addition to several streets further west that are upslope. In addition, this wastewater pump station would also service the future extension for the Bayshore Boulevard sanitary sewer project. This is an unlisted action pursuant to seeker, and ultimately this declaration for intent to be lead agency would be really the demarcation that the town is going to undertake this, giving notification for other interested agencies, again, primarily EFC and DEC in this case, that we are going to move through this in a coordinated fashion for seeker purposes.
Bob, is it a proximity to water that we had to declare, notify other agencies versus the Point Pleasant pump station?
Not necessarily. The origin of this project, let me back up here. The origin of this project is a result of the pump station's proximity to the water's edge. At 250 feet of elevation of water, this pump station, which is a below grade, so it's down, it's a vault underground, approximately 20 feet deep. If we reached a certain critical elevation, that pump station would be incapacitated, thus resulting in untreated discharge into a freshwater body being Arundequite Bay. So the origin of this project is a result of its proximity to the bay itself. With regard to seeker, this is the other two were the projects that we just discussed via for board action on next Tuesday are both type 2 actions. So for seeker, there is no seeker review because it's a replacement in kind. These projects are unlisted. This is an unlisted project. The prior project is an unlisted project. The other project, the Arundequite Bay State Marine Park, is a type 1 project. So for different types of projects come different reviews. And as such, this would be a coordinated review continuing because we have funding coming from the Environmental Facilities Corp. We have an oversight and admin agency in DEC who's reviewing and approving these plans. For seeker purposes, in my mind, it's clear and it's concise, better to do this in a coordinated fashion where everybody is seeing information, free flowing, everyone can have input on that process. Does that answer your question, Supervisor?
Yes, very well, thank you. Anyone else have a question for the commissioner? Hearing none, I'll ask you to unmute your computers, call a roll. All those in favor say aye.
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 Councilwoman Romeo in the positive? Yes, very good, thank you. All right, and nay, resolution is adopted. So that concludes our items for board action. You can't see him, but Nate Stone worked very hard to help put this together today and educate most of us on how to do this correctly. I'm gonna give best lighting to Megan Doherty. John Perdiphone, I'm gonna give you most of
What
the
am I giving?
vegetation in the background there. And Peter, I don't know. Peter, I think he's playing a video game. Just kidding. All right, we'll be in the Broderick Room on the 21st of April, 7 p.m. The meeting will be closed to the public, broadcast on Facebook Live, iCat. Residents who want to submit public input can do so. We will have the public hearing, the aforementioned public hearing. We will leave open until. I will now take a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed, the meeting is adjourned.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Town Board on ICAT, Government Access.